What's up, guys? How's it going? Um, hey, what's up? We brought Addix back. He was great, so he's doing this
Yeah.
permanently. What's up, Addix? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Just a reminder, I will be linking all of these socials in prior to the beginning of the episode. So, I know you can probably read it on the top left, but just in case you can't, do you want to guess who we're doing today?
Oh, I have no idea.
No idea. Okay, well that's actually perfect. So, we are doing notorious serial killer, deranged mass murderer, Cletus Cassidy. As
Oh,
yep,
we're doing
we
Carnage.
are doing Carnage. As
You haven't seen the movie yet,
I
have you?
have not, but as the movie has come out, I decided to do Carnage. For one, Woody Harrelson is a fantastic actor, so I decided that I wanted to
And for that reason
yeah, that
alone.
reason alone we're doing Carnage. But also I wanted to give people some backstory into Carnage prior to heading into that movie. I know that like a lot of people might have seen Venom. Venom's a lot more popular as he was introduced in the third Spider-Man movie back in the like older days, and then he was introduced in his own standalone movie a couple years ago with what is his name? Tom Hardy played
Mhm.
Venom, and then um I'm pretty sure the other guy was the other villain was Riot in that first Venom movie. But I decided going into this that we would do Carnage. And so I have his two biggest comics, which is his introduction and a comic that I definitely enjoyed reading, which I have here, camera, Maximum Carnage. Those are the two comics I covered, and they debuted in 1992. His first appearance in 1992, The Amazing Spider-Man number 361, and then Maximum Carnage came out the next year as a big event for Carnage. And so those are the two that I'm covering today. And at the end of the episode, I have a like misconceptions about Carnage. A lot of people have these ideas about Carnage or like relations to Carnage that they believe, and so I just wanted to clarify some Carnage stuff before undergoing, like before you guys watch the movie if you have any questions still. So, I'm gonna get into that original run of the Amazing Spider-Man with so it begins with Aunt May and Peter. Peter's in Aunt May's basement, and he's fixing her like heater or whatever, the like really old furnace, and he's going down and Aunt
What a mundane way to
to
start
begin
a
a
comic.
comic, yeah, fixing a furnace. So he's fixing her
I,
furnace.
I miss I miss the Civil War start.
Oh
School
yeah, school.
shooting.
Well, no, it was a school bombing, and it was it was definitely it was definitely a very explosive start to that one. This one is very tame, as he's
And
fixing.
Moon Knight, the way that comic just started.
Yeah, for sure. They all just started
Go
very like
kill this man.
go out and
Okay.
fight people, go murder stuff. I like
This
I
one just begins with Peter Parker being a plumber.
yeah, fixing her furnace. Anyway, um, he gets that phone call, or Aunt May does, and she's like, "Oh, Peter, it's for you." And he takes the phone call, and one of his like classmates, fellow science students, has been murdered, like just killed at the school. So you know, he's like, "Damn, I have to leave now." So he changes into Spider-Man, swings around and heads to school, which is Empire State University, is the name of the college. It is not a real college, by the way. As to my understanding, if I could have applied to that college, I would have. Back
For
in
obvious
for
reasons.
obvious reasons, yes, to try to apply to the same school that Spider-Man went to.
Micro is Spider-Man confirmed.
Yep,
I knew it.
yep, always have
He
been.
keeps throwing all these Spidey hints. Well, last week
For
during
for
What If we
sure.
covered mainly Spidey. This
Yeah.
week, Spidey.
We're doing Spidey. I'm wearing a Spidey shirt. If you guys can't tell, it's very hard to see, but it's that cover of when
The Amazing Spider-Man.
yep, it's the Amazing
Yep.
Spider-Man when what's her face, Gwen Stacy got thrown off the bridge like we covered last week. Um I am Spider-Man. It's over. I've told the world. Um but he
Let the
makes
Civil War begin, chat.
Yep, Mephisto's on me. I already have to get him to take my firstborn so that I can you know so that I can everyone can forget I told you that I was
One
Spider-Man.
more day.
One more day. Anyway, he gets to that police station to the policemen who are at the university, and the guy that was there, his other classmate that saw was like, this dude is not human. The guy that killed him, just not a human being, like just straight up. So cops are like really confused. Like, I guess, and here's Peter with Aunt May, when she goes to answer that phone, saying if you're gonna get ready to go on a date with Donald Trump. It's kind of
Nice.
Yep, right there. Yep. Anyway, Peter having to investigate the death of his classmate is late to a date with MJ, and he gets there and they like MJ only had like 30 minutes because she took the lunch break for like her lunch break was their date time, and Peter made it there late, so he's like just telling her that like his classmate died and that's why he's late, and she's like, I guess. But she's really upset, and this like tension that MJ has continuously builds throughout the entirety of what will be the podcast. Like it goes through multiple issues, beginning here, and right, he believes that Venom's back, and they head back home and they're talking, and he's like, they said that it was not human, not like this non-human thing just murdered someone, and I think it's Venom, but I all I remember is leaving Venom on like in a previous issue. He left them on an island because Venom and Spider-Man fought, and Spider-Man left the island, faked his death, and had Venom believe that Spider-Man was dead, so he stayed on that island. Um, but he was just telling her like, I don't think it's Venom, but it could be. It's very weird because I remember leaving him on that island. There's no way he could have escaped. He's on an island. He has nothing to swing to. So we just got to see like who it could be. So Peter goes and he goes to the Bugle to try to investigate, and he gets his information on Eddie, and he finds out that when Eddie Brock was in jail, he had a cellmate, Cletus Cassidy, and Cletus Cassidy, he started doing research on him. He found out that he was a serial killer, and let me see what my next picture is. He finds out that he's a serial killer, and that Peter has done all the work that he could, but that he needs to turn to Spider-Man and start investigating on Cassidy. So he starts talking to people. He's like, "Hey, do you know anything about Cassidy?" But the people are scared. They're like freaked out. They're like, "I am not snitching on Cletus Cassidy. If I tell you whatever, he'll come and kill me for sure." So like eventually he just finds out that he's from an orphanage, that he lived in some orphanage. So but the orphanage was burnt down, and he heads to the orphanage and in hopes that he could find someone there that owns it or something. He gets in there and he hears like a voice. Someone's talking to a teddy bear. And there,
Okay.
Cletus Cassidy is sitting down, ass naked, in on a burnt orphanage on the attic, right, with a fire, talking to a teddy bear.
Do we have a picture of this?
I don't, but I do have pictures of other characters when they get the symbiote removed and they are ass naked. Trust me. Um, trust me when I say this. It is as TOS as it can get, right? Like if Twitch is here right now, like I know you probably aren't, but if you are, it's just a comic book, right? They like we're like I needed to get those like yeah, those e-thought, like pictures in there, e-dudes,
So
e-boy
if
images.
in Venom let there be carnage, there's no ass naked men. We riot.
Yeah, we riot for sure. Um, but anyway, um, just butt naked sitting there. So Spider-Man goes to approach it, and it like turns. It does like this 180, and the Venom and the Carnage symbiote like it just gets on it, puts itself on, and it yells at itself like, "We are Carnage," kind of thing. And so, Carnage attacks Spider-Man, and Spider-Man immediately can tell that there's clear differences between Carnage and Venom. For one, when Carnage attacks him, he sends out like this giant whip, but it solidifies like a lot faster than the sludge inside of Venom. So, Spider-Man's like, you know what? I've dealt with Venom. I can probably deal with Carnage the same way. So he goes to like web his eyes. The fluid hits where his eyes are, but the sludge kind of like moves around, and it continues to attack Spider-Man. He's like, I don't need my eyes to see, which is kind of weird because I thought that's the whole purpose of eyes. But anyway, apparently he doesn't, and he turns his arm into like this axe and throws it at Spider-Man. And so Spider-Man's like immediately notices that
Let me just throw my arm axe at you real quick.
yeah, facts. And Spider-Man's like this is something that Venom can't do, right? So he dodged.
So, a quick question, Micro.
Yep, what's up?
How how similar is Carnage to the N64 version of Carnage on the Spider-Man 64? If you remember that game.
I definitely do not. But
Unlucky.
yeah, unfortunately I don't. But
'Cause I know at the end of that game, Carnage like fuses with Doc Ock, and it's just
that's
ooh.
interesting. Yeah, so I've never seen that happen, but when we get to misconceptions, we'll talk about that. Carnage has fused with other symbiotes other than Cletus, or other people other than Cletus Cassidy. I'll explain that as you meet some of the characters
Okay.
here that he fuses with. Um, but he throws the axe and Spider-Man decides to dodge it. And as he dodges, like he turns back to look at Carnage and he's gone. So Spider-Man's like, you know what? He's on like this wooden plank and he's like, you know what? I'll just wait for Carnage. My spider sense will help me. But here's the image of him on that wall and the Venom symbiote like appearing behind him. And him saying like, my spider sense will warn me if he's still around. And then like he's doubting himself. So Venom, his part of his powers is that he doesn't alert Spider-Man's spider sense. And Carnage is exactly the same. He does not alert Spider-Man's spider sense. So it doesn't trigger that like if you've ever seen that like 90s cartoon how it goes like green and then like purple and so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't trigger that like thing for Spider-Man. So he just gets hit, right? Like Carnage takes the
I
opportunity and just like smashes the floorboard on him, and he goes
we call
flying.
that plot device.
Yep, yep, for sure. And so definitely because it'll come back, you'll see it. Um, and so there are a couple cops outside that hear the commotion, and they come in, and Venom notices like, oh, more friends, and he chucks a bunch of daggers made out of his like slime or symbiote suit, whatever you want to call it. He chucks a bunch of daggers at one of the
So
cops.
just to be clear on something, can Venom do this?
Venom cannot. As far
Okay,
as
so Venom's just got slime.
Venom's just got slime, whatever. So the way the symbiotes work, I should probably have explained the symbiote a little bit. Um, the symbiotes absorb their host, right? And they take in different things from their host. So personality, weapons that they were wearing, different kinds of stuff. So Cletus wasn't wearing any weapons, but the way they'd explain it, and they definitely talk about this in further in like I think it's the next issue after this they explain it, but I can do it now. What happens is that because Carnage was born on Earth and not on Clintar the way Venom was, his the symbiote evolved differently, and the symbiote evolves multiple times. Um, but Carnage evolved differently to where it
So
doesn't.
Carnage isn't an alien. He just was straight up.
I mean,
He's just made on Earth.
technically, Carnage is an Earthling, yes, because he was born on Earth. Technically, Carnage
Wow,
is not an alien. Um,
that is something I never knew about Carnage.
yep, Carnage is technically not from Clintar. So, what happened was when Eddie and they don't cover this, but when Eddie was in jail with Cassidy, they were bunkmates. They explained that when he was doing research on who he could be earlier. Um, but when they were bunkmates, the Venom symbiote went after Eddie. He's like, I like Eddie. Like the way they explained it in Venom was perfect. We're both losers, right? So the symbiote goes looking for Eddie Brock, but it's pregnant, as you'd say. And so when it morphs with
By what?
it doesn't. So it reproduces asexually. So
I was about to say there
it
better
was
not be a
yeah.
female. I don't want to see
I
no.
mean there. Okay. What was that, bro? What was that? What's that slushing that
That's
you
two
did?
symbiotes, bro.
God. Yeah. So I don't uh, okay. Thanks for that. Now that's going in my head now. Um, but God. Yeah. So it reproduces by I assume reproducing. Yeah. So the Venom symbiote reproduces asexually. I don't think it's budding, but it splits. I guess it is budding. Technically, a piece of it splits off, and that split off piece becomes the
A new
Carnage, a new
symbiote.
symbiote. So
Gotcha.
when the symbiote bonded to Eddie in jail, it was getting ready to reproduce, and the chunk that came off morphed into the bloodstream of what's his name, Cletus Cassidy, and that is why. Well, for one, it's why Carnage is red. It's mixed with the blood of Cletus Cassidy, but it was born on Earth, so with its earthly powers, it's kind of like it's for one, the children are always going to be like when creatures reproduce asexually, their offspring is always slightly more like they're slightly stronger. Like if like bacteria that reproduce, the evolutionary result might be like what is it? Like immunity to certain like antibiotics, right? There's that whole like antibiotic immunity that bacteria have. When Carnage was born from Venom, it's new because it was on Earth. It kind of has like that Superman effect where like the sun or like whatever affects.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Similarly, Carnage being born on Earth and not on Clintar means that Carnage has different abilities than Venom.
So Carnage was made in America.
Yup, for sure. He's born in New York, Rikers Island. Um, so
Brooklyn.
Is Rikers Island in Brooklyn? I'm 100%. Yeah, I guess is it? I don't know.
I don't
I've
think
never
so.
been
I just
arrested
wanted
in
to
New
meme.
York. I've never been arrested in New York, so I can't tell you. Sorry. It might be
I've
in
never been
Brooklyn.
arrested in New York, but I've been
In New York,
arrested in every other
in every
city.
other city, I've been arrested, but not in New York.
Micro's a wanted man.
Yep. It's all that vigilanteism I do as Spider-Man, you know. Anyway. So Carnage, he throws those daggers at the cops, and Spider-Man's like, well, I gotta protect the other one, so he jumps over, protects the other one, and as Spider-Man goes to protect the other police officer, Carnage makes his escape, and life goals. Yeah, you could probably Archer's comment, dude. You could probably do some like petty crimes and get arrested in each state. I'm sure you could. Uh, jaywalking, you know. Um, except New York, you'd probably have to go all out for New York. So, um, anyway, Carnage leaves a little reminder for Spider-Man that he rules, and Peter heads back to MJ because there's nothing else he can do. He's lost the trail of Carnage, and
Carnage rules.
yep, Carnage does rule, and so
So Carnage is just actually a child.
he's very much so. He's a big baby. And I'll explain more of these misconceptions later. But Carnage basically he escapes. Peter goes home back to MJ, and MJ has started smoking again. Like she's nervous and worried, and she says like, I'm just worried that you won't come home. And so Peter says, I need some help. And this is like him saying that he needs help is the end of the first issue, and it's a 3-issue run. So we cut to him talking to the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, and they are in the Fantastic Car. Peter has a sonic gun, and they're heading to the island where Venom is, and they're saying, "We need Venom's help if we're gonna stop Carnage. It's the only way." And so here's the Human Torch, the sonic gun, and they're in the Fantastic Car. And so they reach the island, and Johnny gets off the Fantastic Car. He, fires up and starts looking for Eddie Brock. Calls Spider-Man. He's like, "Hey, he's at the beach." And Spider-Man shows up. Eddie Brock is like 100% convinced that he's killed Spider-Man, and then he turns his head and is like, "What the hell? I thought I killed you." So he goes absolutely like batshit. Um, he just dude goes dude goes insane, and
Even in Spider-Man alternate timelines, it's always, you didn't kill me.
for sure, 100%. Every time you think it's Spider-Man dead, it's not. Um, and trust me, this happens a lot during that clone saga. Like at one point in that clone saga, Peter just doesn't know if he's a clone or not. Um, but anyway, Eddie gets pissed, and so he lunges at Peter, right? Peter hits him with the sonic gun, but the like momentum of his lunge is enough to like slam Peter's neck down. Um, and so like Peter's in trouble, and Johnny's like, all right, I need to step in. So he makes a circle of fire around him, and here's Venom like getting engulfed in flames. And so Venom's being hurt by the fire, so he takes Johnny and slams him into the ocean pretty much. They're at the beach. So he slams him into the ocean and like it's the symbiote part of his calf. So like the part that is his calf detaches, and does this make sense? Like,
Yes.
okay, because like I was gonna get up and do a demonstration, but if it makes sense, I don't have to do that. Um, like the calf part of the symbiote like drops onto yeah, fire burns, Archer. Fire does burn. But anyway, the symbiote like the leg part or the calf part like chokes the crap out of Johnny underwater, so he's choking. Johnny can't light up, and so Johnny's like, I need to like help Spider-Man, give him like a breath of air. So, cause like he's you know gonna choke him, and symbiote's hitting Johnny. So Johnny goes supernova under the water, and here's him like distracting Venom. Venom turns around. He's like, and it gives Spider-Man enough time to swing away. And Venom's like real pissed. He's like, I gotta go after Spider-Man. So he swings after him. And so Venom does have one unique power to him that he doesn't share with Carnage. And Venom can do this. So Venom can morph his suit into his environment. So if Venom needs
I
to,
never knew he could do that.
he can. So if Venom needs to say glide, he can turn his body into a glider. He can't fly, but he can glide. Like if you've ever played like Marvel vs. Capcom, Venom's block in that is that shield. He can morph the symbiote into that shield. And he can reflect the suit's like color to match his background. So again, he just says like Spider-Man, like Venom can pop out of anywhere. I gotta be on my feet, and he
Unlike that
he
venom shaped cloud that's above me.
yeah, exactly. And the Venom doesn't alert the spider sense and is completely invisible. So Venom drops down and it starts like wrecking Spider-Man. And so Spider-Man's last hope is pretty much Johnny showing up on the Fantastic Car, and the Fantastic Car has like pretty much like if you've ever seen a car where the symbol or the logo of the car would be. So like if you're driving a Honda, that Honda logo would open up into like this giant O and blast the sonic wave at Venom. And so he blasts like most like you also have to understand too most Marvel characters are weak to sonic attacks. Like you're not going to ever have a hero whose superpower is the fact that he can block audio. Like it's just not a thing, right?
They can't block the audio. Oh
Yeah.
no.
So most of the time, sonic attacks are gonna be. So it's why it makes sense the Fantastic Car has a sonic weapon, and so it just happens that the sonic weapon is super effective against Venom. So it rips the suit off of Venom, and it gives Spider-Man enough. Here's half-naked Eddie Brock again. Y'all weren't expecting that, were you?
I wanted to see Carnage half naked. This is the wrong comic.
I'm sorry. We'll get to that soon enough, though. But here's the Fantastic Car
Good.
blasting Eddie Brock, removing the symbiote from him, and while Eddie's recovering, Spider-Man takes the opportunity. He's like, "There's another symbiote loose in New York. It's attached to your old cellmate Cletus Cassidy, and innocent people are dying." And while Venom recovers, it takes that opportunity to put the suit back on, and there's Cletus Cassidy, but it takes that opportunity to put the suit back on, and while Venom is thinking about the idea of working with Spider-Man back in New York, Carnage is going after this like rich dude. And so the rich guy just like he pulls out a gun, he doesn't know what to do, he's like bah bah bah, he starts shooting at Venom. He's like, oh, those old cliches, and he just like boop, and he drops all the bullets out of him. It's really funny. And so his hands kind of turn into knives as he starts chasing after like kind of like Wolverine claws almost, but like just two of them. And he starts chasing after the guy. The guy like gets on his helicopter, and yeah, pleasant surprise. And
So
what's
why
up?
can't they just drive the Fantastic Car and just the Carnage? just stop him too.
Look, I 100% agree with that. They should have just done that, but they need Venom. So they need Venom to find Carnage. I assume that they could just wait for Carnage to make some loud noise and then find Carnage there, which is lazy
There's
writing.
gunfire over there.
Oh, look, there's a whatever's about to happen now. They could literally use that as a reason to go at what's about to happen as a reason to go after Carnage, but they need Venom, and they'll explain it. But pretty much, Carnage goes after the guy. The guy gets in his helicopter, and the guy's like, "Yo, get the helicopter up," and the pilot's like, "I need clearance to leave." And meanwhile,
What is Marvel's weird obsessions with helicopters?
the Thanos copter, and then there's this one. This comic here specifically was done in 1992, but the next comic that I cover, which is Maximum Carnage, is 1993. So it's right next to each other. This is early Carnage, and those are the two primary Carnage comics that I'll cover for now. But the guy, the pilot, yeah, definitely. It's definitely, you can definitely tell the 90s were here. If you can ever tell, like, they don't know how to draw feet with the 90s, and then there's two things with 90s that give it away. The art style is feet and pockets. Always, they always have like a ton of pockets like that you never need, and like overly sized feet. Those are like the two big things um that give it away. And then like different art styles will show like this is clearly but the feet, that's a big thing right there. Clearly from Naked Eddie Brock's giant ass weird toes. But anyway, the guy gets on the helicopter, and the pilot's like, "I need clearance or I'll lose my job." And the second he speaks, Carnage takes the helicopter and drops it into the sidewalk, pretty much like a
Nice.
kid playing with a Lego toy and just dropping it, and it just explodes. And so
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. If I were a symbiote, probably be Venom. But besides the point,
yeah,
this
it's
Carnage guy do be kind of cool though.
he is very cool. He's very interesting. He's definitely a maniacal maniac, if that's a thing, maniacal maniac. Anyway, he blows up the helicopter and swings away. Here's the smoke from the helicopter, and Carnage swinging away with his weird
And then he screams Carnage.
his screaming Carnage. Oh, so this is part of his motto. I couldn't get the full image, but pretty much Carnage is all about chaos, and so his motto is that he will redo the world in just chaos, and Carnage is the ultimate chaos kind of thing. So that's pretty much like the gist of his motto. And it's explaining that like all chaos is carnage, right? So but back on the island, Eddie and Venom like in their head discussed working with them, and so they explain that between symbiotes there is no such thing as family. Like the way you and your chaos, the way you and your mom would be like family or your whatever, like the symbiote does not. Yeah, it really is a really cool Carnage panel here of him swinging away. But the symbiotes don't. They're not related to each other. No matter who's born from what, they don't care about each other. And so and then it explains that the symbiote being born on Earth developed differently than those born on Clintar, and it's why Carnage can make those weapons and whatnot, because he's technically an Earthling. And so they're talking about the asexual reproduction, and this is him explaining how the different environments cause him to develop unique powers. And so Spider-Man is given an ultimatum by Venom. Venom says, "I can help you catch Carnage, but only if you let me go free afterwards." And so Peter, knowing that he doesn't have time, agrees. Hears them shaking hands. And so at home, Carnage was watching TV, and he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna make myself a sandwich." Um, he
What a
goes,
mundane thing to do
just
after
just
destroying helicopters,
kills a bunch of
screaming
people.
Carnage. I'm gonna sit back, kick back, watch some TV, boys.
make a sandwich. He goes, makes himself a sandwich. Venom and Spider-Man are getting a ride with the Fantastic Car. Johnny Storm needs to like, dip out. He's like, I can't join you guys. Sorry, Fantastic Four needs me. They take the gun, and pretty much they they head back. And Venom and Spider-Man are like, all right, we can take on Cassidy ourselves. So, Venom has a neurological like thing that can help him track where Venom is because they're related. Bro just wants a sandwich after a long day. Yo, a long day of mass murdering. You can't just go on the next day and murder people on an empty
Ain't
stomach.
go on
So
an empty stomach. Yeah,
yeah. So
chocolate and tater tots.
chocolate and tater. What is it like? Theobromine is the reason why Venom like is the only thing Venom eats is like this chemical called theobromine, and it's the primary substance of chocolate and brains, and it's why the symbiote eats those things. Anyway, um, Venom senses where Cassidy is, and they make it in, and here's Venom or Cletus putting on the Carnage suit, turning around. He's like, well, 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 if it isn't my dad, right? And Cassidy immediately, like, first thing is that we're cellmates, and the entire time you were in jail, you couldn't stop talking about how you wanted to kill Spider-Man. Um, and so he's like, why don't you just join me? And why don't you just join me and we can kill Spider-Man. And Venom was like, yeah, no, thank you. I can't do that. So they start fighting. They kind of pin each arm of Carnage down to the floor, but he like stands up and pushes them to the side. So they're each on like the edges of the wall. And so this is like a big ruckus. So the lady living downstairs is a mom. She takes the broom and she starts like hitting the ceiling. She's like, "Hey, you guys, shut up there!" And Carnage is just like,
Mom's
"Oh."
coming upstairs with the broom.
So she starts like she's like with the broom, and she's like, "Oh, shut up!" And Carnage like busts down like the floorboard, and he's like, "Oh, who's there?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a little baby." And he like grabs the baby with his tentacle arms and chucks the baby out the window. Like it
Okay.
was a really funny scene. I'm sorry for babies out there that are watching Marvel Buddies. Yeah, getting chucked out windows. but Venom and Spider-Man are like, oh no, they chucked out a baby, so they jump out the window after him. And they both shoot their
So Venom
weapons.
would all of a sudden care about that just
Yeah, cause
because.
so Venom's whole thing is that he doesn't want any innocent blood to be spilled. So that's why he jumps after the most innocent thing in the world is probably a baby. So he jumps after it with Spider-Man, and they both web up the baby. Venom ends up catching the baby, like Spider-Man's misses, and Venom catches it. And they come back, they give back the baby to the mother, and Spider-Man's like, "Hey, all right, put your tracker back on. We need to go find Carnage again." And he's like, "I can't do that." And he's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, the sensory probe or whatever it's called that I had, he blocked it. He figured it out." Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the reason he only eats bad guys, because they're not innocent. So, um, but pretty much Venom can't track him anymore. So Spider-Man's like, "Shit, what are we gonna do?" So, there's a they're like trying to think of like where Carnage can go, and then there's this giant like newspaper with the director of that newspaper company with a bullet on his forehead kind of thing, and it's Jameson. It's Jameson. He got a big old hole through his forehead, and they all know where he's going next. So that second comic pretty much ends with Jameson backing up as Carnage appears in front of him like this, and he's like, "You're gonna be dead," right? And Jameson immediately just gets kidnapped. And Robbie Robertson, his like assistant, whatever, is there, and he's like talking to the police. He's saying that like this red thing just took Jameson, and Spider-Man and Venom they swing in, and they're like trying to talk to. Not Omni Man. why did Omni Man just
My
go?
boss, my boss just got taken by a red guy.
Pretty much. Um, why did Omni Man just punch the shit out of Carnage the way he did to Invincible? They, anyway, um, Spider-Man gets there with Venom, And the police turn around like, oh, it's Venom. We gotta get him. They pull guns out on him, and Spider-Man's like, no, no, Venom's with me. He's my responsibility. I need him to track down. Right, I'll take responsibility. I need him to track down Venom. And he's like, oh, nice speech, thumbs up. Right. Anyway, he explains that he they're like they explain that Carnage took him and that the Carnage took Jameson and they need to go after him. So meanwhile, they Robbie has to update the obituary explaining that like the Daily Bugle lost Jameson, blah 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 blah, whatever. Um, and Venom like he talks about like he's like, oh, Carnage was never that strong when we were in jail, so perhaps he took our strength and put it like my other spawn took our strength with it and added to his own, added it to Cassidy, and it's why Cassidy is so much stronger. Um, but they swing over, they realize Cassidy won an audience, so they head over to Madison Square Garden, right? Big event in New York, big place in New York, and there's just like a rock band playing, right? They're like playing music, and so Carnage is like, he gets on stage, he just crashes the stage. Man respects the brutality. Anyway, Carnage busts into, or yeah, he busts into the stage holding Jameson, and the crowd are just like, yeah, that's real cool. Woo, look at that guy on stage. And the band just stopped playing. Also, like, whoa, what the hell? What's this guy doing? And so immediately the drummer just gets stabbed, like rip the drummer. He's like, yeah, you gotta leave. You can't be on stage. He's just freaking impaled by by Venom or by Carnage. And Carnage gives this huge speech. He's like authority is the worst, and after you kill your first person, you'll be free. You'll be free of all the authority. Just kill people. Start killing. And like he's trying to get that like insatiable like what's the word I'm looking for? Chaos, right? He's looking for that like new world order led by chaos kind of thing.
Or you could say the Carnage.
Yeah, he's definitely looking for some carnage. And like immediately one of the guys is like, "Yeah, I'm with you." And he go to stab this dude. Spider-Man whips the knife out of his hand, and they make it there. Carnage he tosses Jameson to the side, and they start fighting Venom. And Carnage is like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna take this one step ahead." And so, in case you guys aren't aware of Madison Square Garden, underneath MSG is the subway. So Carnage pretty much slams Venom down the subway. They drop, like Carnage gets hit, or Venom gets hit, and Carnage makes his way to the through the train tracks. And so yeah, he literally flips it. That's the sound effect of that Spider-Man makes when he web stuff. It's thwip. Um yeah, sure, it could be that too. I just say thwip. But anyway, yeah, sure. What the sound of the spider from Minecraft is that what the fuck? What the fuck, addicts? Anyway, um they head down, they start chasing Carnage, but Venom is stopped by a cop because Venom is notorious. He's like a big dude. So Venom's like, I don't have time for this. He goes to kill the cop. Spider-Man stops him, and he swing kicks pretty much he swing kicks Venom, and then they head into the track after Carnage. Um, and pretty much Venom punches Carnage, and Carnage like he does this thing where he puts his hand out and they punch, and then the symbiote. I'll just show you. The symbiote does this, so it just like interwoves into the suit. And so there, Spider-Man punches Carnage into the train tracks and electrocutes Carnage. Carnage gets real pissed off. This, by the way, the electrocution of Carnage is a complete modern what's the word? Like it's a big plot hole currently because, and I'll explain it later. But Carnage's currently only weakness is electricity. So technically, if he's weak to electricity here, he should also. But I'll explain why it isn't and how. It's there's a lot of stuff to it. But anyway, um, Carnage is like pissed off, and so at the time Spider-Man takes the opportunity to like dip out. He's like, "We're in the train track. I'm gonna look for the control room," and he finds it. He tells like in the control room is Jameson. He's like, "Get the hell out, go back home." Um, and he like Venom is 1v1ing right now like Carnage, so Spider-Man takes the opportunity to through the PA system of the control room, he modifies the frequency so that like the vibration that comes out rips the suit off of both of them. And so here's like
Okay.
yeah, like the frequency that the PA system gives off, it's like a siren. It'll like rip the suit off of them. Brock recovers because he's a little more used to the sonic attacks than Cassidy, and Cassidy just passes out. Um, but Brock at the end decides I need to get out of this, and Spider-Man won't let me, so he attacks Spider-Man. But at the end, the suit gets ripped off of Eddie, and thanks to Reed and the Human Torch coming back to stop him. And the comic ends with two like this couple, this old couple, a woman and a man. They're talking about their kid, and they're coming home from communist-controlled Berlin, or ex-communist controlled Berlin, back home to the States. And you would find out that that couple is Spider-Man's parents, Peter's parents. And that's the end of the first Carnage comic. Carnage,
Well, that's kind of a big bombshell.
yeah, it really is. And they show up later. But I really they're not important. I mean, like Peter's dad has like a brief like thing, but they're not important. Um, and
They're just not
just not
important.
important. And Carnage immediately fan favorite as he would get his own event following this event, not even a year later. And so we're talking about 1993 Maximum Carnage here. One of like Carnage's probably Carnage's best comic run, and event. Um, it's fantastic, and it begins with Cassidy in jail. He's in a straitjacket, and they're like he's singing like "Here comes the bride, all dressed in white," and it's you know he's in a straitjacket, and they're sending him to death row to be killed. But they find out that he still has the symbiote in him, and so they send him to like a doctor's room so that they could like track or figure out what's going on with the symbiote, right? Like see what's going on. And like as they're gonna inject him to like take a blood sample, the Carnage symbiote comes out, he breaks out, and he's just like kills everyone. And then he talks to the nurse, and he's like, I'm gonna kill everyone in this institution now. And while this is happening, this is a couple of comics down. It's like about a year later. So um I don't know if you remember if you've seen any of the last two Spider-Man movies. Liz, if you know who she is, the um or well she's in actually Liz is only in the first Spider-Man movies, Homecoming. Liz is Peter's date in Homecoming.
Ah,
Yeah.
is
So
she still
she is
what's
a
his name? Vulture's daughter.
yeah, Vulture's daughter. She's a really prominent character as Liz is the girl that ends up dating Harry. Liz dates Harry afterwards, and um Harry pretty much they have a kid together, Norm, and Harry dies. Harry's somewhere along in between this comic and Maximum Carnage. Harry dies, and they're at his funeral while Cletus is escaping prison, and um Felicia Black Cat is she's currently dating Flash Thompson. She's just eyeing down Spider-Man or Peter, and Peter's with MJ, and he's like, I can really feel her glaring at the back of my eyes. And Liz is now like terrible, by the way, relationships. By the way, like she is the worst at picking dates because she went from dating the Green Goblin to now the Molten Man, who's just a shiny Colossus dude. But like she cannot stop dating supervillains, and mind you, her father is one, so yeah, daddy issues, I guess. Um, anyway, um, while they're at the funeral, they're like, "Yo, I'm sorry, Liz. We're sorry for your loss." Carnage is killing everyone at that institution, and he busts the door down, and he finds this woman. Her name is Shriek, and he's pretty much explaining like, "Oh." He's like he's pretty much in love with her. He's like, oh mama, something tells me that you're my kind of girl. Kill here often? And she's like, yeah, my name's Shriek. And I don't know much about Shriek. Her powers seem very like it sounds like by her name that she would have some sort of like audio attack, but she shoots out like these laser beams but she can also like mentally affect people.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. If you guys want me to kill her often, yeah, you have to get one of those at some point for sure. Um, but he pretty much escapes with Shriek, and Peter and MJ they're talking about Harry. They're like, we're sorry about Harry. Like explaining like to each, because they're Harry's, but they were Harry's best friend, so they're like concerned. And while they're doing that, Carnage is swinging across town with Shriek, and he pretty much explains to her how he got the symbiote, which is that he used to be cellmate with Eddie, and that it reproduced and attached to the reproduction version attached to Cassidy, and then it became Carnage. And they're hunting for Spider-Man. And as they're hunting Spider-Man, they actually find what's called Doppelganger. So it's a clone of Spider-Man that has 8 arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's freaky looking.
Yeah, and
I never even knew of this character, so
the name is Doppelganger. Let's see, Doppelganger. Yeah, it's just a creepy thing. Um, and I'm pretty sure he's a clone. He was created by Magus. During Infinity War. So Magus. I don't know if they'll ever. I can do I can cover Magus if you guys want me to, but a lot you'll find out that a lot of characters tend to have like good bad. So like within the same character. So Magus is the alter ego version of Adam Warlock. So where Adam Warlock is like truth and justice, Magus is chaos and I guess lies is the opposite of truth. so
yeah.
so he's all about like chaos and like the opposite of stuff. So Doppelganger is the exact opposite of Spider-Man. He is not Spider-Man. He is Man Spider. Right? He's a literal beast. He has 4 arms instead of 2, and I don't know where webbing comes from. Don't ask. I hope for sure it's not his asshole, but he pretty much is the complete opposite of Spider-Man, and they pretty much Carnage and Shriek take him as their child pet kind of thing. After they beat the crap out of him like multiple times, right? And so they eventually keep Doppelganger as their pet, and Peter changes back into Spider-Man to patrol, but they're stopped by Shriek and Doppelganger. Shriek and Doppelganger beat the crap out of him, and they leave him down in an alleyway. And Carnage was, he's like, I want revenge on Jameson. I didn't get to get him. So he goes after Jameson, but he's distracted from actually finishing off Jameson when Spider-Man is saved by a dynamic duo of Cloak and Dagger. Right? Cloak and Dagger, Tyrone and Tandy. Um, Cloak grabs these muggers that were on the street. They saw Spider-Man and like, hey, we're gonna figure out who Spider-Man is. We're gonna take off his mask and kill him. And Cloak's like, yeah, you're not gonna do that. And he traps him into the dark dimension of his cloak. These common drug using only crime is that they probably have an ounce of marijuana in their coat pocket. He just and like they were interested in who's behind Spider-Man's mask, like just to get sucked into the dark dimension and killed. Um, right? So yeah, like
Yeah,
who's the
fortune does
real
not
villain?
smile.
Who is the real villain here? Like,
Fortune does not smile upon them. Oh
yo,
my god.
and like while this is happening, MJ's at home with Liz. Liz is crying, and Liz's son Norm comes out, and Norm is he's not important now, but he will be after Maximum Carnage. But Norm is like, I want to see Uncle Peter and Aunt MJ, and he's like, well, Aunt MJ's here. Yeah, yeah. Who's the bigger threat? It's probably Cloak sucking everybody into a dark dimension that that you can't escape from, and you go mad. Anyway, anyway, Carnage joins Shriek and Doppelganger, and there's a 3-on-3 fight between Carnage, Doppelganger, and Shriek against Cloak, Dagger, and Spider-Man. To which
I cloak do the thing.
they would you'd expect that to happen, but Tandy, she tries to hit Shriek with like this blinding light, but Tandy disappears. She like No one knows where she went, and Cloak believes she's dead. He goes insane, right? And the three of them they leave. Spider-Man's like ribs are shattered, and here's Cloak screaming Tandy, right? Um, and so uh,
Candy!
well, yeah, I guess so. I guess it wouldn't be like that, but sure. Um, but while this is happening, Venom's hunting down criminals while they're fighting, and on the news, like how they used to have it in the 90s. I mean, so with uh with Cloak and Dagger, to answer Archer, um like Tandy's pretty much the only thing keeping Tyrone or Cloak from really succumbing to the dark dimension and like becoming evil, right? Like without Dagger, Cloak would probably just kill everything and feed into that vortex. Because that pretty much when he puts people in that vortex, it's kind of like he's feeding or consuming, and so it keeps his hunger down. So yeah, he's pretty much like a threat. He's like I gotta eat. He's like up there. So while they're fighting, Venom's fighting like just some common thugs, and on like I don't know if you
And
ever
those common thugs just get eaten
yep
because
yep
Venom.
are but um they don't, but I don't know if you know like those old TV stores, how they used to have like the TVs out on the window and display, and they all only have the news, right? And so obviously the news are covering escaped criminal Cletus Cassidy, the Carnage, blah 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 blah. He's on a tear, and so Venom's like, oh, Carnage is back, and he's like, you die.
I know what I've got to go do.
Yep, and there's a cop trying to stop him. And he's like, if you could freeze be possibly the word you're looking for? Sorry, and he just bolts out. Again, huge abs, little weird feet, as you can tell. They don't know how to draw. 90s people never knew how to draw feet. Um, and so back at so Cloak and Dagger they kind of live at a church. So back at the church, Cloak is like he's crying and he's crying. He's like I need to go after Shriek. Like she killed Tandy and I need to go after her. But Spider-Man's like you need to chill, bro. My ribs are damaged and you're in no mental condition to go after anyone. But Spider-Man against his own like judgment, he's going to go home to rest. But you know, while that's happening, Carnage is beating the shit out of Doppelganger because so like there's infighting between the villains, and this is a big thing throughout the comic. Like, who is Carnage really in charge, or is Shriek in charge? Um, while Peter goes home, he's with MJ, and she's like, "How can you even think of going back? Like, I lost Harry. I don't want to lose you too." And this is the big thing with MJ that's continuing on since this, like how like MJ doesn't want Peter to die. When I can get to it, I don't even know where it was, but MJ doesn't want Peter to die, right? And so she's like, "Oh, how could how could you think about going back? I don't want you to die." And it's like this is like a reoccurring thing. Um, so Spider-Man's like, "Fuck it, I have to go back." And so he turns into Spider-Man, and there he is, like he's swinging. He's like, "Oh, there's the Demogoblin. I didn't really need this anymore." But he tries to fight the Demogoblin, and the Goblin escapes, and Spider-Man's like, "Shit, I
Dude,
gotta."
it's just going
It
down in
so
this comic.
this comic may as well be like war, and they've only just started recruiting. So Venom and Carnage they beat up, but Venom is clearly outnumbered, and Peter gets a knock on his door, and here's Carnage like blasted, like dead to rights, pretty much. Peter in his little bear, whatever they're called, slippers. MJ, gotta get those Ethot followers in. Come on, guys, Bikini Tub stream. You know what I'm saying? Gotta get them clickbait videos. Hopefully YouTube will pick this one, right? Get that clickbait in. Anyway, Eddie's pretty much messed up on the floor, and like this is Team Carnage pretty much as they head into like this shack or this building, and they find Demogoblin. They fight for a little bit, but Demogoblin's explaining how he just wants to kill everybody, and Carnage is like, "Oh, cool, you'll be a perfect spot addition to us." Yep, perfect amount of fan service right there. MJ in a robe and a bikini. Um, and so while that's going on, or like lingerie, I guess, not a bikini. But anyway, while they're there, MJ's at home. She's like worried about Peter, and she's like, I can't be here, and so she leaves. She heads back to Aunt May, and while she's at Aunt May, Brock explains, like Brock's on Peter's couch explaining that they need to work together again to beat Carnage, but he can't fight now. He needs to rest. So Peter, with his broken ribs, instead of resting, goes out and goes on patrol, and he meets up with Black Cat Felicia
Yeah,
Hardy.
as one does.
Yep, as one does. Wait for the fan service. There's more here. Um, by the way, Black Cat has to be like top three of my favorite characters. Her like latest run is just hilarious because she's just stealing shit. It's just her running around stealing stuff, and it's like fantastic. Um, but anyway, she pours him a cup of coffee, and they're talking about Carnage, and Peter's like they're all saying like we need to stop him, we need to stop him, and he's like, you know, we, and fan service here. But he's like, I don't know if I should partner up with Venom because he's so broken ribs are merely a suggestion. They are merely are. Um, so while like Peter's with the Black Cat or Felicia and like Aunt
I'm gonna
May.
throw something out here.
Yeah, what's up?
In the comics, Spider-Man takes his mask off a lot.
Yeah, he definitely does, but he's so Spider-Man for sure has been one of the few heroes to keep his secret identity like completely hidden from everybody. Like he only takes it around well here Felicia because they've dated, Eddie because Eddie already knew who Peter was when he was Spider-Man. He because the symbiote when it originally merged with Peter told Venom that he was Spider-Man. And so like Peter only takes his mask off with people that he knows. Like Spider-Man
Hmm.
only like I trust you, I could take my mask off. Kind of deal. Right? So like back to this MJ was like with Aunt May and they're like, like worried about Peter and Peter's like I don't think I should trust um Venom, but anyway, Black Cat she leaves, she goes out and she's like we need to stop Carnage and the three of them go out with so it's Venom, Cloak, Black Cat, and Spider-Man, and they're all wearing like this Jaeger headset, pretty much like that helicopter headset. They all start looking for Carnage, and they find him right, and it's a 4-on-4 now as they added. Yep, no window peepers, absolutely not. No one's ever just like looking through Spider-Man's window saying, "Hey, look at that, it's Spider-Man crawling through his own window." Wonder if the person that lives there is Spider-Man. No window peepers. Anyway, 4-on-4 now. They dropped Dagger for Black Hat and added Doppelganger or Demogoblin on the enemy team.
Cloak.
Yep. And there it is. It's the 4-on-4 and as you can imagine, the building catches on fire, it blows up, and Black Cat and Venom are caught underneath the rubble, and Cloak is having his hands tied up with Venom, so Spider-Man goes, he's like, alright, I'm gonna go help Black Cat and Venom, and the villains make their escape. Again, Spider-Man's too late to catch them, and Venom is pissed. Venom's like, nothing matters, our lives don't matter, the only thing that matters is killing Carnage, and he like attacks Spider-Man, right? Like, she doesn't matter, none of us matter, only thing that's important is protecting the innocent and stopping that animal from murdering, and it's Venom's entire thing is if you don't stop Carnage, his blood is on your hands, kind of thing. And so, right, it's like, you know, Black Cat coming to defend him. He's like, "You're a piece of work," trying to bash his head in after. And if you really wanted to go after them, you should have gone after them instead of fighting each other. And they do. And Carnage and like his team pretty much like I'll end up calling them at one point Team Carnage because I'm not gonna explain the entire team like multiple times. But current Team Carnage, there it's like um Demogoblin and Doppelganger don't believe that Carnage is competent, so they attack him. But Shriek blasts them, and he's like, he is competent. And while this is happening, Peter goes to Aunt May and he's like really depressed and he's like, I don't think I have the strength to do this, to be as ruthless as Carnage. And this is the one time Peter's dad is ever of use. And he comes down and he's like, sometimes you really need to fight fire with fire, right? You just gotta be ruthless. And so Peter takes to the like Carnage takes to the streets and he starts rampaging, like wrecking stuff, like there's fire, stuff are exploding, like here's the Demogoblin carrying people. This dude's just I don't know. This guy's getting impaled. That guy's getting choked. That guy's getting blasted. This lady's running away. Shit's going down. So, Venom, Cloak, and Black Cat make their way to the fight. But by the time they make it, Carnage is already gone. By the way, on me, all my ribs are broken. I can't. I have no protection to my lungs. Oh,
Sensubane.
Sensubine. Um, but the people on the street began to riot. So part of Shriek's like this is why they all say that like who's in charge here, Carnage or Shriek. But part of Shriek's ability is like I guess in some way she can manipulate people. But the people began to riot on the street and they attack Spider-Man, and this Spider-Man like no more mercy from Spider-Man like just busting out right. At night Michael Morbius, he's about to like take a snack, but he's stopped by Venom, Cloak, and Venom, who are like, "You need to join up with us because we need all the help we can get to stop Carnage." And they explain that Carnage is, like hurting innocent people, and that whole thing with um, Venom and Morbius of like protecting the innocent kind of thing. So, Team Venom and Team Carnage, right? Um, the two of them are decidedly heading to the same location as a new club opened up and MJ is there. She's like at the club dancing, trying to like relieve herself of the idea of Peter dying. And Team Carnage is there. They blow up the club, and Team Venom makes their way to the club without Spider-Man, and they start fighting. Um, and so here's Carnage fighting Venom, and so the villains escape, and the team Spider-Man joins up eventually. Start rescuing everyone before they head to the orphanage that Cassidy is, and they're explaining that like they're pretty much explaining like Carnage to the rest of the team, like what his thing is, his weaknesses, and how they could like make his weaknesses like a real Trooper of MJ. They're pretty much trying to explain um like how they could stop Carnage, like sonic attacks and fire are his like weaknesses. So the team decides like the Avengers are gone, which by the way is not the same lineup. They're a different Avengers team this time. Um, and the Fantastic Four is
I
out.
was wondering that.
Yeah, it's not the same lineup.
And the Fantastic Four is, doing bigger
Bigger
stuff.
stuff. Yep. So they can't head there. So while that's going on, they're like, all right, who can we get? And so they're like, well, Firestar is still available, and she shoots fire, which is one of the weaknesses, so we can get her. So Morbius goes out to get information on Sheik. Cloak teleports out to get Firestar, but Cloak realizes, or Spider-Man realizes, Cloak can still teleport. Without Dagger, Cloak can't teleport. So Dagger must still be alive and it's just somewhere else. Um, so they're like Spider-Man's like Dagger has to still be alive, but I don't know where she is, and I don't have time to look for Dagger, right? Meanwhile, while that's going on, the villains add another member to their team by a guy named Carrion. And Carrion, if you've ever seen My Hero, is just Shigaraki but worse, right? He can only decay things that he like organic things that he touches. Pretty much that's his power. Um, and at home, MJ's going crazy, worrying about Peter. She's like, I gotta stop this violence my own way. Blah 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 blah. She doesn't. She does nothing. She just sits there on her couch and cries. But Team Venom, right? They head back to the streets to stop some of those riots, and while the riots going on, Aunt May gets robbed, and Peter's dad like smashes in the robber's head with like a wooden plank. That's the
Okay.
like that's like the two things he's ever good for. Um, like nothing else ever really comes up with Peter's dad that I'm aware of in these comics. So I'm gonna just get back. So Team Carnage, um, they're on the street and Deathlock appears, right? So Deathlock is a futuristic man that has been blown up by a nuke and replaced with robot parts. So pretty much RoboCop. No one
An
touches.
android
Pretty much. Um.
or
So
a cyborg.
I guess it would be a cyborg because he was once human and was turned into Yeah. Anyway, um, I'm not gonna think about this too hard. So he shows up. He tries to fight Team Carnage. Carrion's like, I got this guy, no worries, and he touches his chest, but it's not organic. So like he's pretty much like, ha, you can't hurt me, and he like beats him up. Team Carnage leaves, and Team Venom is breaking into a facility. Spider-Man is with them to steal a sonic disruptor that's designed by Mr. Fantastic, and then Cloak teleports back with Firestar. This is Firestar, um, and the hero.
Nice.
Yep, the heroes catch up to the villains that are they're pretty much at like a cemetery, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and Firestar talks to Spider-Man. She's like, "Look, I'm worried that the heroes we have on our team are just as bad as the villains. So, and again, recurring message of like Venom and Morbius should not really be on this team. And MJ worried about Peter smoking like 90 cigarettes, blah blah blah. But anyway, they catch up to the villains. They start fighting. Cloak traps Shriek in the dark dimension, but not long enough for her to actually remain in, as he gets like hit and she like breaks out. Um, and so like Shriek, when she breaks out, she calls a bunch of street thugs to come after her, and Carnage is like, or Venom's like, you have to kill Carnage here. Like, if you don't kill Carnage now, we're all dead. And Peter's like, you got to do it to like Firestar. So she's like, I guess I got to, and it's like she does. She like lights up and starts burning Carnage, but she can't actually like finish him off. So he's like injured, like like kind of like burning out. And Venom's like, what the hell is wrong with you? You need to kill her. So he grabs her like by the back of the head and like pulls her back. He's like gonna kill her, but Spider-Man comes in and they interfere, and there's more infighting between the team. Um, and so they escape, and Carnage pretty much he's pissed off because um Shriek had been so yeah, Venom goes after Carnage. They lure him. I'm pretty sure they lure him into a trap. Yeah,
I love that shot of Spider-Man and Venom. By the way, they look very Goku and Vegeta there.
definitely. So yeah, Venom's like real pissed off, so he goes after Carnage, and he's like, I'm gonna humiliate you now, and he lets Shriek hit him, and Shriek uses her sonic blast to rip the symbiote out of Eddie's body. He's like, no, now I'm weak and depowered, and they pretty much take Eddie, and they're gonna like torture him at the like torch of the Statue of Liberty. And Peter's down bad. He's like, my ribs are completely shattered. My team is gone. Like they're all scattered. I need some help. And Captain America comes. He's like, I'm gonna lend you a hand. Again, he's with the not with the Avengers currently. So back at Captain America's HQ, they get a call from Deathlock, and they're like, "Whoa, who's this guy?" But then Iron Fist on like their second monitor comes up. He's like, "No worries, this guy's cool." And while that's going on, Cloak, Morbius, and Black Cat are chasing after Carrion, Demogoblin, and Doppelganger. So when Carnage left, this man's ribs are like absolutely gone, bro. They don't exist anymore. At this point, they've probably been digested by his stomach. And so, um, the Demogoblin, Carrion, and Doppelganger, they didn't get to escape as fast as Carnage. Carnage kind of grabbed Venom in one hand and put Shriek on her back, and then like swung off. And so he didn't have time to like, hey, come on, let's go. So, but either way, they know where he's going. So the three of them, they're heading towards that torch of the Statue of Liberty, and Morbius, Black Cat, and Carrion are chasing. Um, like Brock is being tortured, and the three of them, like three villains, turn around to fight the three heroes. And MJ is still at home, like crying. It's like, I don't want to lose my husband. And Peter stops by. Peter's like, I need to see my wife. So she's like, I still don't condone what you do. But a radio transmission comes up, and the police are having, like, there's more riots on the street, and the police have to, like, hold down a prison riot. So Peter's like, all right, I'm going to go. And he deals with the prison riot, like, pretty swiftly. Um, and while the prison riot's going on, the villains are fighting the three villains, Doppelganger, uh, Demogoblin, and Carrion are fighting Black Cat. Uh, Cloak, and Morbius, and the three of them are just like squaring off, but they're not strong enough because Black Cat's kind of like a weak link. Eh, 'cause she doesn't have her powers are just that everybody around her has bad luck, so it's not really useful. So while that's happening, Night Watch, is that his name? Nighthawk, I think his name, or Night Watch, one of those two. He's very like not important. Anyway, he comes down and let's see, what's his name? I think his name is Nighthawk. I think that's his name. Um, yeah, it's this guy, Nighthawk. Um,
Beautiful.
I think so, if I'm not wrong. Or is it? Let's just make sure it's not Night
Birdman.
Watch.
Harvey Ace Attorney.
Let's make sure it's not Night Watch. Oh yeah, no, it is Night Watch. This guy. It's Night Watch. This is what he looks like. This is Night Watch. He's the guy that shows up.
Ooh.
Yep, not Nighthawk. Wrong character. He kind of looks like Spawn, in a way.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was
Like
pretty cool
he
though.
pretty much looks like Spawn, like a complete ripoff. But he's very cool. Anyway, Nighthawk like notices them and he joins them. He tries to help them. The three villains try to escape, and while that's going on, Deathlock and Iron Fist join up with Captain America and Firestar, and then Spider-Man joins up with them. Um, as Captain America, they make their way to the street to fight Shriek, and who had been sent out, who like of her own accord went out to like cause more riots, and she gets hit in the back by Captain America's shield, and um like Morbius and Nighthawk, they so Morbius and Nighthawk and everybody else pretty much went separate ways. So you had like Team Captain America, which is Firestar, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, Deathlock, and Captain America are fighting Shriek and her like street gang. Black Cat went home because she's hurt, and Venom is being tortured. So
On the
Morbius,
Statue of Liberty.
yep, and Morbius and Nighthawk or Nightwatch or whatever the hell that guy's name is, Spawn. I'm gonna call him Spawn now at this point because it's easier for me to remember. The two of them go after the they go after Venom. They try to get him to escape. Doppelganger and Demogoblin show up to help Shriek and they free her. And Shriek pretty much goes all out. I don't know what the hell this is, but she's like blinding everybody or like psychically attacking everybody. Eddie's still being tortured, and Carnage pulls out the psychic gun or like the sonic gun or whatever, and he shoots Carnage. But Carnage, the suit gets put back on Carnage, and he gets free. Yeah, she's going Super Saiyan. That's the only explanation I have. Um, but Carnage breaks free and escapes, and Carnage or Venom breaks free and escapes, and Carnage goes ballistic. Carnage is like, I was winning, I was winning. I can't let him lose. While this is happening, Cloak is praying, and he's like, without Tandy, I'm gonna succumb to the darkness. I need someone to help. And Cap is trying to like rush through the crowd of like rioters. He doesn't want to hurt anybody because there's just people that are like losing their mind. And like this blinding light comes out from the church, and here's Cloak with that blinding light. And Carnage meets up with Shriek in the middle of the street, and he's pissed. He's like, you shouldn't have gone killing without her. And he pretty much like beats the crap out of her. And then Doppelganger goes and he beats the crap out of him and just like he takes Doppelganger and drops him into the sidewalk and like signature move at this point.
Yeah.
First the helicopter, now Doppelganger, smashing him off the building. Team Cap catches up with Carnage. Venom was kind of like watching him from afar, but when when they start fighting, as they're about to fight, Dagger comes back with Cloak and curb slam, yo, freaking curb stomped at this point. But Dagger tries to use her. So Dagger has a healing power. Pretty much, Dagger can try to like change people's mind or like influence their mind. So he does that to Shriek, but she has just so much rage that she knocks Dagger, and Spider-Man ends up like having to catch her. And here's Spider-Man, like
Still with the broken ribs, mind you.
yep, still with the broken ribs. Even though like here it doesn't really look like it, But Spider-Man is yeah, she's very plain, but I definitely do enjoy the design. I like, and it's not because she's a woman. If this would have been a guy, I would have liked it too. But I do like the fact that her like suit has the upside down dagger. I think that's pretty cool though. Like it's like a dagger. I can't really show it, but it's just like the shape is a dagger, like it's a knife. You could
Yeah, I
yeah
see it.
yeah. But she is it's supposed to be like light and dark, pretty much that concept. Tay. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Spider-Man, he ends up distracted. I don't know why he needs to 1v3, knowing that Cloak, Dagger, Iron Fist, Captain America, and Firestar are there. But he 1v3s. He 1v3s Carnage, Demogoblin, and Shriek, while Deathlock overloads his gun and blasts Shriek to like make people stop rioting. And she's pretty much, I guess, at this point, like I don't know what word to use. He really is. Spider-Man is just like Vegeta in this comic. Um. Anyway, Deathlock hits him with a gun, and Shriek is like, yup, pretty much like that early Vegeta in like the Saiyan saga. Just that's Spider-Man right now. Um, but pretty much, Shriek's like in love with the gun because she's absorbing the gun, like the rays from the gun, and it overloads her, and so she like stops, he drops, and then Carnage eventually starts getting hit, and it starts like burning him, and she's like, give in, give in, give in to the gun, and pretty much Carnage explodes and leaves him like this, um, and then they all leave him there, like they don't do anything, they just kind of like, well, he's dead, let's go, and they walk away, and you know, yeah, pretty much. And Spider-Man
Oh,
is at a pond.
believing them to be dead. Oh
Yep,
boy.
yep. He's at a pond. He's like thinking about his life, and then Venom arrives with Carnage, and they're like fighting again. So here's Carnage. Here's Venom ripping off Carnage's face. He's like, "I'll strip you off layer by layer," and Cassidy runs away as like Venom is like ripping through him, and Peter's like, whoa, 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 we gotta get the team back together and fight them, and Venom like backhands Peter and smashes his ribs again. Like dust, absolutely. Peter has no ribs. Spider-Man does not have ribs at this point. Like gone, absolutely gone. and and so Peter, with broken ribs, goes back to MJ, who's at the hospital. I don't know why. I guess she was looking for Peter, which he probably
Just
needs
had a
to.
heart attack.
Yeah, he probably does need to have like his body scanned after losing every rib. really, really, just fucking dust, bro. At this point. Anyway, Carnage is at Riker's Island where he like goes back to his old cell and he's like, "Oh, look, they rented my cell to someone." And then Venom comes in, still chasing him. So Peter's with MJ and they're talking, and MJ finally comes to term with Peter like risking his life out for everybody. More of MJ in like a super tight outfit. Come on, people. Fan service here. Give me more viewers. Anyway, anyway, so um, Venom is still chasing Carnage until they make it to his old orphanage, where Carnage is like going nuts, right? Like Carnage starts seeing people that aren't there, and Spider-Man like he decides like he needs to fight Carnage, and Black Cat is at her penthouse, like she was like, I want to help, I'm feeling better, but I'm out of my league, and it's pretty much suicide if I go. So Carnage is chased to a cemetery where him and Venom are fighting, and here's Venom lifting up Carnage. Um, but they chase Carnage to a cemetery to fight him again, and Spider-Man stops Venom from killing Carnage. Right, like Venom's literally right here about to kill Carnage, and Spider-Man swings in, beats him up, and he's like, "You can't really kill him." And so
Why not?
because it's Spider-Man is against killing people. Exposed
In
next
the
to
problem right here, Spider-Man.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. He should, but to answer Tay, yep. If Spider-Man gets hit one more time where his ribs are, his lungs or heart is gone. But anyway, depending on how high or low he gets hit. But Carnage. Carnage hits Spider-Man in the back, like again near miss on his ribs, but he probably should be like in a heart attack or like suffocating at this point. But Carnage hits Spider-Man. Black Cat swings in and hits Carnage, and it's just like refrags at this point. And here's more fan service. Give me viewers, please. Um, Boobus.
Now everyone beat
Everyone,
up beat
yeah,
up Carnage.
and yep, that's how it ends. And everyone slams Carnage in, and then Venom picks up Carnage, and Dolphin dives him into a generator. A Boobus. uh, Cassidy blows up. The generator blows up. Cassidy's burnt and like he can't breathe. Venom escapes on the back of a truck, and the Avengers, who consist of the Black Knight, Thor, but not Odinson. Thor. I forget. I spelled Thor wrong.
Frog.
Throg. This guy. It's not Thor. It's Thunderstrike. Um, I forget his name. No, not Donald Blake. I forget his name. But he's a construction worker
Beta
who
Ray Bill?
no, it's not Beta Ray Bill. It's the third Thor. I guess technically it's the third Thor. There's Odinson, there's Beta Ray Bill, and then there's this guy who's just a he's totally not Thor. He's just a construction worker that has a hammer. So I could do a cover of him, but he's just like he really is just a construction worker that picked up Thor's hammer, and then they gave him his own hammer. He's the true wielder of Stormbreaker. So misconceptions about that before I get into misconceptions of Carnage. Thor's hammer is Mjolnir. Thor's axe is Jarnbjorn, and then Thor gets a third hammer, right, which is exactly what you think when you hear hammer. It is like the right. That is what Beta Ray Bill uses. That is that is Stormbreaker, and then yeah, now you just need now you just need to be a construction worker to be able to pick up Thor's hammer. Anyone can just apply.
Just
um,
grab it real quick, get the
yeah.
powers of a god.
um. Anyway, and then the there's that hammer, the Stormbreaker, and then Thunderstrike, I think is the name of it, is a three-sided hammer that's given to um the other guy, the construction worker dude, who I think his name is Thunderstrike or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, Cassidy's hurt. The Avengers, which consist of construction worker Thor, Vision, Scarlet Witch, the Black Knight, and I'm blanking on the other person, but it's mainly those four. They take Carnage into custody in Avengers custody. And that's the end of Maximum Carnage. Black Cat kind of says that like, oh, I really don't feel safe even knowing the Avengers have Martin Lawrence. Archer, I love you, man. Anyway, so I'm gonna get into some misconceptions about Carnage before I finish off today. So um, Carnage for one is not the same as the original Carnage. Eventually, after this run, Carnage dies. The symbiote gets blown up. It's gone, right? So Carnage now, current Carnage, is not the same as the original Carnage. Um, so um, later on, when Cassidy loses the symbiote, a villain named Blastar invades Earth through portals. He opens up a bunch of portals, and one of the portals is a dark dimension that has that's in like near Clintar, right? And pretty much the dormant Clintar Carnage is calling out to Cassidy. Cassidy steps into the portal, and a new Carnage kind of morphs into him. So it's kind of why I say that that original weakness and like kind of continuity error of him being weak to electricity doesn't technically work because it's a new Carnage symbiote, but it's the same Carnage symbiote, just dormant and not actually dead. Um, so technically yes. Carnage isn't the only child of Venom, so that's a big one. The Life Foundation, who, if you remember from the Venom movie, was owned by the one guy, the one dude. He was Riot. He played the one guy from Rogue One, the pilot from Rogue One in Star Wars. I forget the actor's name. Whatever. He owned the Life Foundation. The Life Foundation believed that Eddie Brock had some way of making super soldiers, so they kidnapped Venom, and when they realized they couldn't, they forced Venom to reproduce, and they made Phage, Agony, Lasher, Scream, and Riot. And since they didn't manage to bond for that long with a human host, all five are weaker than Carnage. Um, and so, yeah. So who's actually stronger between Carnage and Venom? Carnage he can lift more tons than Venom, and Carnage has effortlessly beat the Hulk, Wolverine, and Cap. Carnage was at one point ripped in two and chucked into space by the Century,
Yeah,
and
that's pretty. That's a feat.
survived. Um, he even regrew his whole body. There's a whole YouTube video on this. I'm just paraphrasing what they said, because Opportunity, while I did this comic, they explained Carnage for me. Like, I was reading this comic, and then one day I was like having breakfast, like sometime this week, and it was like, hey, you wanna know more about some misconceptions about Carnage? I was like, hey, why not? So there's a YouTube video
Why
on it.
not?
I don't know who wrote it. I can't tell you, but I did watch it. Um, and Venom, or I'm sorry, Carnage is immune to psychic attacks, and the penance there, Ghost Rider's penance there, he is completely immune to it. Um, so for one, for the penance there to actually work, the
So is this Carnage right here that got thrown into space? Is that the OG Carnage or is that the new Carnage?
it's supposed to be the OG Carnage, but in all reality, it's pretty much just the same Carnage because this Carnage just got. Yep, Marvel and their OP characters. And Carnage is really pretty much like principal OP character. But this Carnage at one point, like he's the original one, but I mean it's one and the same because Carnage is just Carnage. It ends up being the same version because he was just dormant in Clintar. Um, He's also Carnage is also immune to psychic attacks and the penance there because Cassidy and Carnage don't feel compassion towards anyone. When Ghost Rider does the penance there, pretty much it makes you relive all of your previous sins, and because he doesn't have compassion, it doesn't work on him. It's a daydream for him. It's like reliving fond memories. Um so I'm sure they did. I'm sure he's this. Let There Be Carnage has to be this version, the maximum Carnage run. So he's still weak to fire and sonic attacks, which I'm assuming is how they're gonna end up beating him. Um, but so being that he's a offspring of Venom, he surely has to have the same weaknesses as Venom, right? Fire and sonic attacks. Not anymore. Venom or I'm sorry, Carnage was evolved through the Darkhold. That book at the end of, if anyone did see it, spoiler alert. WandaVision at the end of it,
Yep.
you know that she has the Darkhold. Um, Carnage was evolved through the Darkhold, so he can no longer be hurt by fire or sonic attacks. His only weakness now is electricity, which is why I say continuity error. Carnage can separate from, or Cassidy can separate from Carnage the way Eddie can with Venom. That is no longer a thing. The suit is now a permanent part as it flows through Cassidy's bloodstream. It literally Carnage will do anything for Cassidy. Like Cassidy was shivved in jail once and did not have the symbiote on him. Like through the neck, stabbed. The symbiote through New York City sewers tracked it to jail to heal its neck. Carnage will literally revive Cletus Cassidy. If Cassidy at any point dies, the symbiote will just revive him. Cassidy does not die. Um, the only person to bond with Carnage was Cassidy. That's another misconception. Norman Osborn was at one point bonded with Carnage to become the Red Goblin. I think that's the name. And he even bonded little Normie, the child of Harry Osborn, who you met earlier in the comic. It was just a brief talking of him. Liz's daughter becomes Carnage at one point. Um, and then in another Marvel Carnage comic, a scientist eventually bonds with Carnage to become Superior Carnage. Um, a lot of people like to make the comparison of Carnage to the Joker, and it does make sense because the Joker, the Joker's a crazy dude, insane. So is Cassidy. They're both like arch
But
nemesises.
Carnage is smart. Cassidy just insane.
Nope, neither of them are actually intelligent. Um, the Joker has beaten Batman before off of tactics, right? Like the
Mhm.
Joker has been he's a skilled tactician and he knows how to tactically beat Batman. He can do it. He just chooses not to. Carnage is a complete moron, and so is Cassidy. They are both complete idiots. Um, Carnage or Cassidy never finished school. He doesn't have his GED. He spent his entire time playing video games, which, admittedly, you'd probably
Uh
pick a
oh.
few things up from, um, and watching TV. But he never had an education. So he very much is a moron, and he's only is ever able to win via overpowering his opponent. Um, the other thing is that Carnage is always evil. That's another misconception. Carnage isn't always evil. At one point, the Scarlet Witch casted a spell on Carnage. It was an inversion spell. And that spell managed to make him not evil, right? So when Carnage was inverted, he wanted to be a superhero. He's like, every ounce in my body, and I hate it, wants me to do good. So he tried to become the hero. So he, being named Carnage, it's not a very friendly, heroic name. So he became your friendly neighborhood Carnage Man, and that did not last very long. And he was so terrible at being a superhero, he saw a bank robbery and said, "I'm going to burn down the bank because that way you can't rob the
It's the
bank.
bank's fault
You can't rob the bank if the bank is on
if
fire."
there's no bank there.
Yep, pretty much. Um,
I
Cass
mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Cassidy has only bonded with Carnage. That's not true. Cassidy has bonded with Null, the highest symbiote and first symbiote on Earth. If anyone has ever read King in Black, it is the latest comic event. Null is the villain in that, and it bonds with Cassidy. I think I have not read King in Black, but I do know that Venom is a prominent figure in that, and I'm sure it is, and Null is another. And Null is the villain in that comic. And I'm sure that he's the one that bonds to Cassidy. And then people like to believe that he is the strongest symbiote. He isn't. There's one symbiote. His name is Xerx, who is stated by the Shi'ar Empire, who have fought metahumans and mutants and have gone through wars. So they know their stuff, and they have literally claimed that he is in the top five most dangerous beings in the galaxy. And
Wow.
Cirx has single-handedly destroyed an entire planet. So
All right,
yeah,
next episode on Zerks.
I could probably do a Zerx episode if you guys wanted me to. Um, to everyone in chat, I have posted the first two links. If you scroll up on chat, the first link is to the YouTube channel, the Marvel Buddies YouTube channel. I will promise to post more than just the Loki episode. I have to post the other two, but if you could drop a follow there, a like, a comment on those videos, it would really help me a lot and help the podcast grow. And the other one is the forum. If you haven't voted on a Marvel character, here's Addicts updating the broadcast. So here's the YouTube channel. Um, if you haven't, if you haven't Thank you, thank you. If you haven't voted yet, please make sure to vote. It really helps a lot with me knowing who you guys actually want me to cover for next week. I know this week I had another tie with comic characters, so I didn't know who to do. But I decided that since Let There Be Carnage came out, I would cover Carnage. But I promise I will get back to covering the characters that you want this next week. Um,
So, Micro,
yeah, what's up?
question that I want to start asking you at the end of every podcast.
For sure. What is it?
On a scale of 1 to 10,
Thanks for the follow.
how do you feel? How do you feel about Carnage?
How do I?
10 being one of your favorite characters, 1 being absolute dog water character that you hate.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good question. I would definitely have to put
After
Carnage.
this deep dive, 9 for
Yeah,
me.
I would probably have to put him up there. I was gonna say like an 8 or a 9 as well. I definitely like how they made him slightly different from Venom, but ultimately is very similar to him. They have their differences, but he is when it boils down to it, they're similar and different, I guess, in their own respective rights. But I definitely think that Carnage is up there 9, 8. I would like to see him die at least once. Um, but he's definitely a really good character. Crazy good villain. One of my favorite Spider-Man villains, if you would consider him that. I guess probably like top three. Um, Probably under like Black Cat if you'd consider her a villain, and then the Green Goblin is probably my second favorite. He'd probably Carnage would probably be my third. Um, yeah, definitely great character. And to the viewers, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Your support is it means a lot to me. And I'll be back next Monday with a new character. If you guys remember, vote on that Google form, vote on that YouTube, like, subscribe on that YouTube channel for me, please. It'd mean a lot. And I'm so thankful for you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoy Marvel's new movie, Let There Be Carnage, and I hope you enjoyed this stream. So I will catch you guys next Monday. Thank you, thank you.